You can see you. Yeah, you have to come up here to the camera. Yep.
Okay, we're going out live now, but I just have a card up and no sound. So let somebody know when you're ready to go.
Hey, battle stations, everyone.
Okay, we are letting people in. Visitors. What a surprise.
Yeah, you took some like.
Who else is there?
There's Liz, and yes.
Really easy. And we just use this microphone. So.
And beware, there's also a microphone there. So this is for the audience here.
Yes.
And for the recording and the people remote, you have to also talk a little bit into the laptop.
Right.
And yeah, the laptop can see like this far, so half of you, half of you. So we might have to either lean in or move the laptop around a little
So
bit.
these are people from all around the world. Oh, this view is from Angel from Vegas.
So what is what platform? Sorry?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. No, if people are watching it live, what are they watching?
YouTube.
YouTube.
Yes. And also in the podcast is the and edited for the podcast. So they take all the glitch out and make a quote about one of the so speaking what Roy said about the audience, so because we have Moonbounce, which I like to sort of kind of read from my screen will not be too
Oh, no, that's fine.
distracting.
No, that's fine.
It's just a, I think it's one that has to be appealed given that the images can be stretched and because it links in with what he's saying.
I'll go right ahead.
Energy and stuff. So.
Yes, and then on the visual, there'll probably be the image. So
Okay, we're going out live and as soon as you're ready to go, Daniela. Right now we're just showing the slideshow. If you just let me know. Okay.
Into optics, and it was also a bit of a breakthrough in both amateur radio technologies and probably the arts, I would assume, because apparently sending images to the moon and back had never been done successfully before my proposal. So it's been really a great exploration, both technologically and artistically for me. I would like to thank also Paul, who is hosting this program on the Wow Signal podcast, for which I'm also an occasional host. And I'll pass the microphone back to Roy.
Okay, we'll just go ahead with the introduction because we have quite a few people, both here in the panel, but also remotely. So we have a colleague, an astronomer, a Maori. So maybe you can say a few things about yourself.
Thank you. So my name is Amore Trio. I'm an astronomer at the University of Birmingham. My research is about finding exoplanets. Those are planets that orbit other stars than the Sun. And I've been working with artists for a long time, and recently having very fruitful collaboration with Curiosity and Creativity, Ione and Gillian that are here present. And the festival here, so we were here last year as well, and it's a pleasure to be back.
I agree. It's a beautiful festival. For me, it's the first time. Liz, maybe?
Hi, I'm Liz Hingley. I'm a photographer and an anthropologist, and it's a real privilege to be here as well. It's my first time to the festival, I'm to Stornoway, and I've had the opportunity to be exploring the interactions between artists and physicists and astrophysicists at the University of Birmingham for the last 2 years. So that's how I come to it.
Thank you very much. So we have several people remotely. Let me turn this around. So we're going to do a visual moon bounce, which means we're going to be emitting radio waves to the moon. The moon is going to reflect those waves, and we're going to receive them again. So we need 2 radio antennas for that, and 2 radio operators. They happen to be both in Italy. So one is Nando Pellegrini. So maybe Nando, you can say a few words about yourself.
Yeah, sure. Well, my name is Nando, you heard it. I'm living in northern Italy.
Sorry, Nando, to interrupt you. I would just like to see Nando on the screen so that people also here can see Nando, because I think he's also going to show his antenna.
I believe he's on now.
Is that...
2 seconds, so we still see ourselves.
Oh, okay, fine. From my point of view, that's much worse than before, but that's my opinion. I was saying that I am in amateur radio since live by now, since when I was at the secondary school. I've been passing all the steps as amateur radio up to when I landed on the moon, let's say so, which is not easy with our tools, with our equipment, and so it's very challenging from the amateur point of view. And I think also Mario, we are very proud of participating to such an event, and we hope it will go in the best possible way. Maybe more later. If you have any question during the show, please feel free to ask, and we'll try to answer if possible. Back to you, Daniela.
I'd like to just add something about Mario, about Nando. So I know you have a 10-meter antenna. Nando.
Yes, if you like, I can even show to you. I need to make another connection to Zoom and use my smartphone, if you like.
Okay. While you do that, we move on to Nando.
By the way, also the audience here, if you'd like to ask questions, just ask them, and we can pass them on to whoever can answer the question. So Mario, Armando, and Natalie, can you maybe say a few things about yourself?
Yeah.
On the screen.
Am I on the screen? You want to put me on the screen or whatever? Yeah, this is Mario from, I'm located in the central part of Italy, in the green Umbria, right in the middle of Italy. I'm going to receive the image that Nando will send to me. I have a much smaller thing compared to compared to Nando. My dish is a 5-meter dish that you can see. I have a camera on my dish, so a live camera, so you can switch on the dish whenever you want. Of course, now it's dark, but it's still beautiful to see. I'm ham radio operator since 1970, so many years ago. I was a semiconductor guy working for many international companies like Texas Instruments, was the main one, and some Chinese company. Now I'm enjoying my retirement and working hard in ham radio and in radio astronomy. That is my passion and the passion of Nando. So we enjoy writing programs to receive pulsars and so on. So very happy that you asked us to participate, and we will try to do the best to share with you the image that we will receive in real time, actually. And of course, we are open for any question that you can have. You can see here the equipment that I'm using for receiving. All the computer are switched on, everything is ready, and the dish you can see on the other screen. Thank you.
Great, looking forward to see that. So Julia de Mirales, you're also an astronomer? no less astrobiology. So maybe you can say a few things about yourself. And hopefully we can have you on the screen.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Hey, great. Nice to virtually meet everybody. My name is Julia DeMarinis, and yeah, I call myself an astrobiologist and science communicator. And right now I'm a research associate at the Breakthrough Listen Labs. Here's my product placement at the University of California at Berkeley, SETI's Research Center. So part of my job is to listen for others out there using large radio telescopes such as the Green Bank Telescope and the Parkes Telescope in Australia. And I'm leading a project with the group called the Moonbounce Project, where we are using the moon as a natural reflector, just as you all are about to see, of radio waves to analyze our own terrestrial signature, our own radio signature, what we sound like to an ET. So that's what I do.
Wonderful. So from the University of Maryland, we have Dr. Barrett. Can we see you on the screen, and maybe you can say a few things about yourself?
Great, yeah. So I am an artist and a scholar working in the areas of music and contemporary art. Currently working on a book on post-humanism and experimental music. So how have things like AI and robotics, but also space travel and radio astronomy changed our understanding about what it means to be human, and then sort of how have artists and composers used these fields to reflect on those changes. One of the chapters is on Pauline Oliveros' work, Echoes from the Moon, which consists of bouncing voices and musical sounds off the moon using Earth-Moon-Earth communication. And so Daniela was one of the organized this set of recent performances of Echoes from the Moon. And that work was also, I think, a bit of an inspiration for optics as well. So that's sort of how I got introduced to this milieu here, and I'm just really excited to be a part of it. So really looking forward.
Thanks. It's just amazing that we can have so many people from all over the world at such an event. It's fantastic. So from Astronomers Without Borders, we also have Andrew Fasekas. So maybe we can have you on the screen, and you can say a few things about yourself. Takes a bit of time, but last time we did as well. Okay, yeah, so I can say about what I have here. So Andrew is a communication manager at Astronomers Without Borders, a stargazing columnist for National Geographic, and is a syndicated contributor for television and radio, known as the Night Sky Guy. He's also the author of National Geographic book Star Trek, the official guide to our universe and backyard guide to the night sky, and is the co-creator of the world's first augmented reality planetarium experience, Night Sky Odyssey. So yes, it's wonderful to have him, but I don't see him at the moment, but maybe we'll hear from him later. We also have David. Can we hear from you maybe?
There seems to be some people are maybe not behind the screen, but I would like to just stay with Nando, because Nando is back, and I think, Nando, are you ready to show your antenna or your technical setup?
Yes.
Because that will lead us very smoothly to sending the first image.
I have to go outside, so just be patient. Can you see the second screen from there, just to check it?
We still see your main screen.
I think I shared the screen. Yeah, I see. Okay, so that's the station. That's the inside where I am now. Just a short view. I have to go outside. Hopefully, it will be.
So this is something that I really love about amateur radio. This each amateur radio, I know I have now a very large network of friends in amateur radio. they build this equipment themselves, so it's all pretty much handcrafted. And this amazing antenna by Nando is also been created by himself, and it's pointing right at the moon. It's beautiful, Nando. So really clear as we like it. The sky seems to be clear. Okay, great, thanks a lot. So, Andrew and David, I hope you're back there. And I will say as soon as Nando is back to his control room, maybe we can send the first image that I'd like to introduce. This has been submitted very kindly by the entire staff at here at Nanterre.
Was it okay? Did you see the dish, the homemade dish?
Homemade, I say that, Nando. I did explain it's made by you by.
So let me close the connection, which is maybe overloading my slow.
So Andrew, would you like to say something? Would you like to add something to the videography?
Yeah, I think my my mic is finally fixed there. Hi guys, so great to be with you. I'm in very snowed in Montreal, Canada, joining you guys. This is something that really is dear to me. I'm actually a space art collector for many years. So I find it's something that's so inspirational, talking about art and the intersection between science and art. You know, it's so intimate, especially in today's world. I think it's even more important that we have this. I work a lot with, I know Daniela actually through Astronomers Without Borders, where she's the astro art director for our program there, for our astro art program. And we have Global Astronomy Month every April. And at Astronomers Without Borders, what we do is we really try to share the wonders of the universe, the love of astronomy, and using astronomy to bring people, communities together around the world. And one of our most successful programs has been working with Daniela on doing radio bounces off the moon, and having people send in their artwork, their photography, and allowing people from all corners of the world really to participate in something like this. That's truly a global kind of event. And you know, we all share the same moon. We share the same stars in the sky. You know, we may be in all these different countries scattered across the globe, but we all do share this one thing. We can look up, you know, here it's still a bit sunny for me here. The sun is going down here in Montreal, Canada now, but in a very short time, the full moon will be rising. And that's something in your skies where you are out. If you head out of the auditorium, you can see that full moon in the sky. And it's amazing to think that with this event that we're doing there, we can actually touch the moon. I think that's incredible to think about. And that the fact that the moon is 1.2 light seconds away, one way. We're actually traveling back in time when we're looking up in the sky. Even the moon is at such a distance from us that it takes light one way to get there, and the radio traveling at the speed of light, 1.2 light seconds, right? That's the distance. And then another 1.2 seconds for that signal to come back.
More than that.
Incredible.
It's more than that. It's 2.5.
That's a beautiful description.
Go and 2.5 to come back. So
incredible.
It's great to have you, Andrew. Fantastic. So Daniela is going to describe the first images we're going to send.
Yes, I already said it's the staff at Nanterre. So as soon as you're ready, Nando, Nando and Mario, I see them as the pilot.
Do you want me to show that one?
The original, yes, please, Paul. So we first see the original image while Nando starts sending.
Shall I start?
The radio waves to the moon. So this is the photo received. Right now, this image is being scanned and sent to the moon as radio waves. So we should be seeing the reflection of the image in a few seconds.
So it might be nice to explain to the audience here and maybe people streaming a little bit more detail what we're doing. So it's possible to send radio waves into space, and radio waves carry information. And we know radio waves from sound because we use sound on the radio all the time, so we're familiar with that. But you can put any kind of information into these radio waves. And the project that Daniela has created puts images into those radio waves. So it's the information, the digital information that constructs the image, put it in a radio wave, we send it to the moon will reflect back part of those radio waves, and we can receive it back here on Earth and reconstruct the image that was sent there. So it really is, as Andrew says, we're touching the moon. We're sending out this image into space, and it comes back after it has touched the moon, and that path takes about 2.5 seconds. And of course, we lose a lot of the signal. When you send it to the moon and back, you don't get the whole image back. There's a lot of noise added to it, and only part of the original signal is still there. That gives sort of a nice fingerprint of the fact that it has touched the moon. So I think it's a fantastic project that's been created. It's wonderful to have been part of this many times now.
Just wondering what's happening to the image. So we are ready to receive it. This technology actually is based on the slow scan television, which is a technology that was used in the 60s by NASA. So NASA used this technology in the analog form for receiving images of the astronauts from space. So it's pretty similar. The difference is that this is a digital version. So we will see the image loading up line by line by line on on Mario's screen. And it takes about a minute before it's completely visible.
If any of the speakers would like to add something or have questions, feel free.
Oh, here it is.
Okay, do you see the image? Can you describe what you see?
Not good enough.
See, okay,
no,
so
not good enough. Not good enough. We need to try again, Nando.
Mario, because this is a media art festival, so we love noise and we love distortion. So if you can please enlarge the image as much as you can, I would like to tell a little bit about the noise. So this image looks a bit scruffy because it's traveled approximately 800,000 kilometers. So if you can maximize it a bit more, yes.
Start that again, Nando.
Yeah, as you can see on the screen.
Yeah. Got some problem in synchronizing this time. Now you see.
Okay, no way to let's start again.
Maybe go to the next image then.
You ready?
Wait a second. Okay, try again. Try again.
Are they sending the image again?
Yes, they keep sending the image until it's received. So it's really like grabbing a very faint radio waves. Okay, Mario, I think we see something. If you can maybe make it a little bigger. Okay, thanks.
Starting to see something. Now it's better synchronization.
Oh, excellent.
Okay. What do you mean by synchronization? Just to make...
Synchronization means that my computer needs to make the scan at the same speed of Nando's computer. If the two are not synchronized, that means that the signal is not getting through, then there is some disalignment. Let me share with you what the other one.
Okay, I'll explain a little bit the signal. So when we send images to the moon, we send them as radio waves. And when the image returns, radio operators don't apply any filter to.
This is a little bit better. Huh?
Excellent.
This is much better, thanks. So they don't apply
This
any.
is a little bit better, yeah.
Any filter. So all the radio activity, all the radio waves that are crossing the cosmos between the space between the moon and the Earth at that moment are going to be swept, absorbed by, let's say, the image as it returns on Earth. So this contains a lot of also radio activity that is happening as we speak. Okay, thank you, Nando and Mario. So I would say let's also move on to the next image as we keep maybe the panel going. The second image is by Gillian McFarland-Boyle. And maybe, Gillian, you want to ask, while we send the image to the moon, maybe you can tell
about the image. So these are images that are created by leading large zinc plates out in either my garden or another significant geographical spot. And I leave them for a lunar month, and then I take them in and I ink them up, and then I print them, printing process. So each month I get a very different surface printed, and I'm trying to gather together the whole year in visual data.
So I think it's being submitted, and we can have a look what comes through after the bounce onto the moon. It looks a bit like the moon, right?
It does, yes, I like it. Yes.
So is any of that intentional, or is it just like you just let it go and see what happens?
Yes.
So did you have any expectations when you do this project?
Well, I think because it's circular, they kind of automatically think of it being moon-like or planet-like, and I think the first one I did happened to be in February, and so I did it for the lunar month, and so it just looked very good.
Yeah, so some people might see the moon in it. For me, it looks like Mercury, to be honest. I don't know what you think. What do you think? Do you also agree it's Mercury, or do you have another constellation in mind?
Any surface that is created or textured, the moon or Mercury, I don't mind too much. I like the moon. I think it's more familiar to the eye.
That's too bad. Thank you, Mauri. So, yeah, would you like to add something?
Yes, I would like to actually ask Julia, who is there, and I know she's been working a lot with Moonbounce in her research, but listening to the radio signals, and I'm just wondering if she can relate somehow the noise of the images to the noise that she receives in her SETI work. So how does that relate to the SETI work?
Are you asking me, Daniela?
For Julia.
I was paying attention to what Mario is saying to me. We have some problem.
It's not synchronizing very well. I can share with you what I'm receiving, but the synchronization is not beautiful. Let me share with you what I'm seeing. The image is there, but it's not.
Okay, Mario, I'll start again.
You see? You see, the image is a little bit because the synchronization did not happen at the right time. So, as you can see, there is almost half of the image.
No.
Okay, starting again. Okay, I see. Starting again, Nando.
So your planet got split in half.
Yes.
Now it's much better.
Yes.
Let reset. Let reset, Nando. Try again from scratch. You see, it's not starting automatically the synchro. Here you can see the image. You see this bright track that you see here, this is the signal of Nando. I can also share with you the sound.
Yes, that would be nice, Mario. That would be nice. Thanks. And can you maybe make the image a little bigger, please? So we see all the details of the pixelation.
But we are not happy. Nando, let's try again once again, Nando.
Try to start manually.
The art is actually very happy with the image.
Just a second, Nando. Wait a second. No, wait a second, Nando. Stop. Let me start again. Okay, go. Okay. Now I make it a little bit bigger. Now the synchronization happened, and then, as you can see, the image did not happen at the very beginning. So we cut the beginning of the image, but the image is there. Maybe you can hear in the background the noise, actually the sound of the image.
We can, that's fantastic. What does it sound like to you?
Well, given the last presentation you had, it's really interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the sound.
Can you hear the sound?
Yes.
Yes, we do hear a little bit.
It's finished.
It's like it's a fax machine, basically.
Okay, this is super good.
Next one.
I think, okay, thank you, Mario and Nando, that's great. Is Julia there? So, Paul, can you maybe show Julia for a moment? I would like Julia to tell a little bit about her work as a scientist with this technology, which is so versatile. Okay, you're here, Julia.
We don't hear you.
Oh. Try again.
How about now?
Good.
Okay. Yeah, so this is actually really cool to see live because this is the kind of observations that we're doing with the Moonbounce project at UC Berkeley with the Breakthrough team. And I think that Daniela had a question about the distortion. We don't put our signals back into a digital form to see an image or listen to it. So this is kind of a treat for me. But because radio waves disperse, the signal back is obviously going to be dispersed, and it's just cool to actually see how much of it was retained after the Moonbounce. And when you showed your live screen of the signal peaking, that's kind of the signals that we're seeing when we're looking at the data. We just started looking at our data. We took about 48 hours of Moonbounce data. Look for it. Of course, not these intentional moon bounces like you are just doing right now, but the unintentional radio leakage from all over the world, or at least where our telescopes are pointed at the time.
So how do you use this in state research for extraterrestrial intelligence research?
Great question. Yeah. So if we're out there looking for signals that are above the noise so that we know that they're not from natural phenomenon, any sort of anomaly, we are looking for ourselves, basically. So we need to know what our signals are doing. What do they look like? So that's kind of how it ties into SETI. What do we sound like if we're out there looking for others? But yeah, more importantly, I think we're at an interesting transition. So this project, the Moonbounce project, has been done in the early 80s and again in 2013. So it'd be really interesting to see the power level. How loud are we emitting over time? Because as as you all are doing right now with this digital, we switched more from analog TV, which were very loud radio signals, to digital back in 2005. I don't know if everyone remembers those commercials, like get your digital TV box today. But that signal is actually a lot weaker with the same information, but digital signals are less powerful. So we're as a planet, we're trying to see if we're actually becoming more radio quiet.
Yes, thank you. So move on to the next image.
That's ionic parking, solar resonance. So that's.
Oh, there it is. It's beautiful. I love this painting. So
thank you.
maybe you can say a few things about it.
Yes, sure.
This is easy. Yeah? This is very easy.
So this painting, Solar Resonance, is in the current exhibition here at Atlantia, and it was inspired from conversations I had with Dr. Helen Mason, a solar scientist from Cambridge, and she was talking about the superheated plasma, the contorted loops of magnetism within the convection zone of the sun, and clearly this was a subject that affects her deeply, and she was passionate in her transmission of these ideas. So fueled by this inspiration, I created this painting, which is, the surface, initially it looks, there's a homogeneity to the surface, but as you look closer, you begin to see the tendrils of light and the movement and restlessness. It is a sort of seething image of deep intensity, and it's the beginning of a series of these. But when Daniela asked about projecting, transmitting images to the moon, I felt, projecting an image that is generated from a solar image would be an appropriate one to send to the moon.
Well, the moon, of course, gets a lot of sunlight, but it never actually got a picture of the sun itself. I think. It's beautiful. So can we see the transmission?
Coming in. Not beautiful.
There it comes.
Not even red.
Not even.
When there is no strong contrast, it is pretty difficult to synchronize. Actually, this is not a digital image; it's an analog image. So there are tones. So the tones are even more dispersed compared to a digital transmission. So if there are not strong contrast, it is pretty difficult to synchronize. And in this case, actually, the contrast is very low. We have seen is a background of red that the system interpreted as a background of yellow, actually.
Again, Mario?
It's, yeah, try again, Nando. Let's see.
We have to bounce everything twice before we get a good result. What do you, so what do you think?
Completely different from the original painting. We'll see what happens.
I agree. It's a bit hard to make out that to show a visual thing, but we try it again.
Okay. So I would like to also connect a bit again with Dag, who is in the panel, and he briefly mentioned that Moonbounce has been used, for example, by a well-known experimental composer called Pauline Oliveros in the 1980s.
Okay,
and Oliveros made a series of performances during which she moonbounced in real time sounds from her accordion. And also at the end of each performance, she had people queuing up to send their voice to the moon and receive the reflection via a telephone. And the other side of the telephone, there was a radio operator, just like today, who was sending and receiving the voice. So as soon as we receive this image, I would like to also hear from Dag a little bit more insight about this pivotal performance that has been inspiring for sure my work. And last year, we also collaborated with Pauline Oliveros' Trust to make a performance that combined her work with the objects, and that was a very interesting experience.
Okay. Thank you, Daniela. So we get to see part of your image at least. Are you happy with it?
Okay, now
well,
it's coming. It seems the third attempt comes.
It's a third attempt.
As you can see, it's losing the synchro, and the red image is shifted. Maybe the system will try to hook again on the synchro. Now you see it's like shifted on the right. That's the problem with the images with low contrast, because again, it's not really a digital image, it's an analog image. So the difference in tones is not so strong, and so for the system it's pretty difficult to find the right synchronization with the original computer. It's nice. It's not the same of the original one, but it's nice, isn't it?
No, but it's the whole idea. It's extraordinary. Transformative part of the art form. Okay, shall we move on to the next image?
Well, yes, I would like to connect it also again with the DAG. If maybe we can have DAG on the screen.
Yeah.
For the moment. Okay, this is the next photo. But I would really like to talk a bit more about this technology and the arts. So I know you're writing about it now, Max, so please tell us a bit more.
Yeah. So Pauline Oliveros, as Daniela just mentioned, created this work called Echoes from the Moon in 1987. So she was working with ham radio operators, really just kind of putting this stuff together. In small town in New Hampshire, and she just had a few different instruments. She is an experimental music composer, kind of coming out of the post John Cage tradition to a large extent, but I think in many ways sort of really charted her own path through music and art, and was very interested in technology, very interested in space exploration, and really thought about listening. And I think what's sort of interesting to me, and I think what was very interesting for Oliveros, is how the sort of the metaphor of listening also really connects up with the practices of radio astronomy, but also then I think practices like the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, and the sort of idea that we're lending an ear in a way to the cosmos. So she did this. She did a few performances of this work called Echoes from the Moon. One of them was 87 in New Hampshire, and then a couple of them in California that were networked throughout the U.S. And then two or three of them in Europe in the 90s, working with several other artists there as well. And then since 1999, I think Daniela's kind of networked performance of Echoes from the Moon has been the only subsequent realization. I suppose one thing to sort of tack on to this is just, I think that it's really interesting to think about Oliveros' work specifically in the context of music and composition, because it's a form that can be repeated. So we can do this work many times as we want, and it could be performed centuries from now. And what would the technology be like? What would the relationship between Moonbounce and SETI be like in the future?
Very good, thank you, Doug. Can we maybe see the image from Jill Smith? Because I love the text. It says, "Your love to the moon and back." And that's going to be a little ritual, right?
So that's image number 4. Yes, when I ask people what would you like to send to the moon and back, so I get all kinds of images. I never apply any censorship. We literally send to the moon and back all kinds of photos. And I think this is for me, the appeal of this project is to also go beyond established aesthetics and not apply any filter in terms of what is suitable for an art performance and what is not. And I really enjoy these aesthetics that tell a lot about just the intimate, they're very intimate sometimes. They talk about people from all walks of life and from all around the world, sometimes wearing costumes from their culture. That's for me what is really beautiful about it. And the moon applies these aesthetics anyway to all these images that we just saw. So when you're ready, Nando, Mario, Nando, we are ready to see the result.
Number 4, already done.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
Not bad, not bad, this one. As you can see, when there are strong contrasts, it's much easier to synchronize, so we are closer.
This is much clearer.
It is. This is a really good image.
Oh.
That's fantastic.
Maybe we can try again so that I can see in real time, Nando.
Which one?
This one.
Okay.
We can't spend too much time repeating images because we still have a few to go through.
They started automatically. You can see the image starting and forming. The system now started automatically. That's a good sign, means that the synchro was there. So the quality is much better now. So you can see even some of the writing on the right side. Some.
For me, this is what is also interesting about this technology, is the fact that we are so exposed to high definition images nowadays, and these images that load up gradually, line by line, and take a minute before gaining their complexity, I think brings really back the value of an image, what an image means in our culture. And I often say that because these images are moonbounced, they make me think about what an image is. So an image by itself, for me, is a sign of memory. So as soon as you take an image, it becomes already past. So an image is, by definition, a representation of the past. And seeing a high-definition image somehow is contradictory, because our memories are never so sharp or so, bright. So somehow this pixelation brings back some of the corrosion that goes on in our brain. As soon as we create an image, there is a continuous overlapping of new images. Liz, you are also working a lot with images. I wonder, now you're new to this experience, and you just spoke earlier about Moonbounce this morning. And I wonder, to you as a photographer and anthropologist, what kind of thoughts is triggering to you?
Yeah, so I'm not a scientist. This is like magic to me, a little bit. I'm not quite sure exactly how it's working. I guess many other people are thinking similar things. I share that sense of fascination with interrogating the images, because I think we are so accustomed to seeing high definition images, and we absorb them so quickly. So actually interrogating them and breaking them down, and really kind of like trying to unravel what they mean to us is really fascinating. And the anthropologist in me is very curious to ask this lady on the front row who actually just sent that image to the moon and back with love, what it meant to her to see it sent back. Would that be okay for us?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Can we maybe have the panel on the screen? Let's go ahead.
Yeah. Would you like to? Would you mind answering?
Yeah, sorry, what should you put?
Yeah, what would they like to see that image sent? There's
Yeah,
precious to you.
I mean, I feel very emotional. That was me and my grandson, and you know, an image that was done by his mum and sent to me on the canvas, and it's like, it's incredible that the words have been turned into an actual reality. It has actually gone, that love has gone to the moon and back. You know, it's fantastic.
Thank you.
She must be much better than I.
Okay, so should we move on to the next one now that the antennas are warm and working properly? So we are going really fast. We have Tommy attending the Rangers soccer school in the summer, and this image was sent by Claire. Let me wear my glasses.
This is coming back pretty good, huh?
This is beautiful, and is Claire here? Oh, hello. Hi, Tommy. Okay, well, they're both here, so they just went to the moon and back in 2.5 seconds. And they look pretty good despite the distance, so excellent.
Pretty good. Very good.
So Tommy is looking very sad, very happy to see his own image.
Okay, the next one I think was also sent by a child, Kayla. I think I only have her surname. So if we can maybe see the next one, yes, that's a moon. I often receive images of the moon taken by people from all over the world. Everyone has a different, of course, point of view of the moon. And I have a collection of photos of the moon sent from people, all in a slightly different fashion.
Can you maybe say how many pictures of the moon have been moonbounce by now?
Every year we have one image of the moon, so maybe 20 or something.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot of moonbounce moon. But can you say, is there something special about this one that you haven't seen in the other images before?
Usually the ones I saw, they have always a bit of a landscape, and I think this is the first one I received that as just the moon, and also with the sky. So the moon is quite small compared to the sky. So yeah, I quite like that.
We do see a little bit of landscape in the original image, but I suspect when we see the reflected image, that's not going to be much left of that. But I'm curious to see how sharp the moon will be with respect to the background. Yes, we are running a bit late in terms of sending the images forth and back, but I think this is tradition in your Project Optics.
Yes.
So maybe some of the audience have maybe a question or something to say. Oh, we have a question here from Amanda.
I have a question for Julia. So we see these images bounce back and they're quite noisy. And now, if a signal came from another stellar system, from another intelligence, what is the prospect we would see anything? Because we're so close to the moon and they would be so far from us.
Yeah, great question. Yeah, I mean, it'd be crazy for us to receive a signal that had information in it. So it all depends on how you encode that image. As you all mentioned, this one is coded with analog. You could do digital. Yes. It could be in an unknown alien encoding scheme. So it could be binary, ons and offs and things like that. So I guess it depends on how the information is packed into the signal, the radio wave that we're receiving. We would have to figure out how to decode it, basically.
Mario, posso rispondere io?
Sì, vai.
We are using a very primitive application to send such a signal to the moon. which was written by, if I'm not wrong, by a Japanese amateur radio. And is a simple FM analog modulation. The window, which is large, no more than 2 kilocycles, is divided into 3 portions corresponding to the RGB basic colors, which are then modulated FM, and then the image is reconstructed by the receiving point. But I repeat, it's a very primitive system. So no control, no check of any kind applied by the transmitter and the receiver.
Thanks, Amanda.
And that's why we have so much noise, I guess, right? Am I correct?
I have to apologize. The big mistake I made before concerning the delay on data transmission. I've been confusing the forward and return path with the reply from another station, which really takes 5 seconds. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, if Mario, if you can please quickly see this image again, but in a large screen, just the moon by Kailai. Who is it here, or the person who submitted this photo? No. Okay. Okay. So, if there is a way to maybe make it a little bit bigger, just to show it to everyone here in the auditorium, what it looks like, and this pixelated image, they always have a great appeal. I think, yeah, a bit bigger, possibly. Excellent. Okay, so the moon is here, and yes, fantastic. So if we have maybe time for another couple of images, I would say, because it's time to wrap up. I would like also to hear a little bit more from Andrew. Andrew, we've been working together on this performance several times, so you are used to all kinds of noise by now, and I was wondering, how do you feel about it? Each event is always different, right? So I would like to hear from you maybe a perspective of your experience on how optics changes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing that every event is different and the images are all unique. This is what makes each and every single, beaming of these images a unique event. And what strikes me constantly every time I participate in this with you, Daniela, is that noise that comes back. It's the missing information that was once in the original photograph, and then what we get back, there are missing little bits, but yet we can still see what the original image was. But understanding, to me, what is amazing too is that we understand that missing information is a part. The dispersion of that signal is because of the craggy surface of the moon, right? It's not a perfectly smooth surface. The effect of that, those craters, those mountains and valleys that exist on the moon, is reflected in that image that we see. It's the true nature of the moon is what is imparted on those returned images. So there's a whole new layer to each of these images that are very different from time and time again from each time we do this event. So to me, that's something it's amazing to think, to understand with those images that we're seeing. Yeah, they're not like what we're used to coming from our smartphones, when we take the picture. This has traveled quite a distance and it's bounced off, and some of that signal has now dispersed into the universe. It's amazing stuff.
Fantastic, yes, I agree. Do we see the image from Ayuna Parken? It's called Dark Phenomena. Maybe we can see the original quickly. There we go, yes. So I hope it's being Moonbounce, but Iona, maybe you can say a few things about it.
Yep. If you could hold the microphone.
I can hold
So,
it, yes.
one of the things we've been doing within our project is when we've made a body of artwork, we send those images out to our collaborating astronomers for them to write responses. And I'd like to read with this one, a response from Dr. Noam Liebeskind from the Leibniz Institute for Astrophysics in Potsdam. And he wrote of this painting, "A detailed examination of the center of our galaxy reveals a chaotic fight between stars of gas and dark matter. Small clouds are stripped and ripped apart as they pass too close to denser, compact objects, leaving behind them trails of debris. Red ejecta is spewed throughout the region from dying gargantuan stars." Now, I find that a thrilling response to one of my paintings. So I'm really interested to see how this particular painting and image becomes striated and spewed and strung out in this transmission process.
Yes, let's have a look. Can we see it? There it is. Can you see it already in the small screen there? Hopefully we can see it a little bit larger. I think that looks really good, actually. There we go. So what do you think?
Yes, so there's more contrast in this one, tonal contrast. So that's, yeah, it's really fascinating.
Pretty difficult, this one.
There seems to be a lot of green in the images tonight. Is there any specific explanation for that, Mario?
Actually, the contrast of the image is making the difference, as I was mentioning before. The moon is perfect. What we call degradation is very low, so the conditions are very good. Of course, there is some diffraction, as was mentioning before, but it's the conditions are pretty good. The point is that my antenna is not big enough to receive perfectly the thing. So the nice thing is that you must imagine the rest of the image. And this is actually the artistic part. Nando, maybe we can try again this one because the system is not synchronized. You want to try again, Nando?
Just
we are running out of time, sorry, but we do have 3 more images. Okay, maybe move on to the next images. Jillian?
Okay.
Okay, start. Okay, he's synchronizing.
No, Mario.
No, okay, no. Okay,
go to the next.
Va bene, okay. Let's go to the next one.
Okay, so if you can see the original, yeah, there we go. I love this project. So, Jilly, can you say what this is about? It's beautiful. I know that everybody else doesn't know.
So, I have bounced an image with Daniela before, and when Daniela was asking for images to send to the moon, I thought it would be interesting to take the image that I get back and do something with it. And I thought, well, it would be nice to send an object. Obviously, this is an image of an object, but this is an object that we need specifically for sending to you. And it kind of ties in with some of the things I've been interested in recently. I read an article about how DNA was smeared into the grooves of some screws on a rocket that was sent into low orbit to see if it would survive into space and coming back. And they smeared on some sort of DNA that they then extracted after the rocket came back, and they grew the DNA in mouse cells, and it was a green fluorescence. And so I quite like the idea. This is the initial sort of speculation. We thought we'd make this object. It does glow green. It's made with uranium glass. But I have to say, I'm quite intrigued with the idea that it was mouse cells that we put it into. So I think once we get the image back, I'm going to alter onto this glass some of the impact that have been sent to the back. And there may be some mouse thing comes in.
Thanks. So I was very confused when I first saw the image, but it is fully glass, right? It is transparent.
Glass, yes.
Yes, and the rest is just reflection of the seeing. So reflection, can we see maybe the reflection, how this reflects on the moon? Oh, there it is already. Excellent. Slightly out of sync, but I think it's still. You really recognize your visual image here.
So.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Okay, maybe. Okay, Mario, Nando, you are our module pilots. How do you say, lunar module pilots? I have to speed up a little bit. So if we can maybe just, as we wrap up with maybe questions from the audience and more comments from our speakers, can we maybe have the last two images possibly bounced? So one is sent by one of my contacts, Manuel Pimenta, and this is a photo of Buzz Aldrin with his wife and daughter. And the last one is quite special. I will say something later. And in the meantime, Paul, do we have any questions from our YouTube viewers, or is there any question or a comment from anybody here in the room?
I haven't seen any questions yet. No. There are some people watching live, but they're not asking questions. They're welcome to do so.
Did you get my image there, Paul? I don't see it.
Yes, I do have it. If you want, I can.
This one is coming in.
Let's see. Let me bring that up, and I'll. Let's see.
In the meantime, I wonder if Buzz Aldrin knows that he's been sent back to the moon.
He wants to go to Mars now, so maybe for him it's not such an adventure.
Buzz Aldrin is coming in. Huh?
It looks good. It looks great.
You probably saw the photo that was in the announcement of this performance. This is a photo that, for me, is really the symbol of visual Moonbounce. So it was sent to me by a moonwalker, Charles Duke, who left the image of the portrait of his family on the surface of the moon in 1972, and it has been there since then. So it has been on the surface of the moon for the past 48 years. In 2015, Charles Duke sent me this photo, and we sent it to the moon and back. So that's the photo I used for the announcement of this performance. Yes, that was a photo I received from Dag tonight, but it was a little bit late to include it in the show, so sorry, Dag, we'll use it some other time. The last image, number 10, is a portrait of Mark Lampi, who was one of the Isle of Lewis's surfers. Mark passed away too soon at his favorite wreck in Barbas. He was originally from Berwick and came to Lewis in 2001 to film the Hebridean Surf Festival for his film Gold Rush. So one of his friends submitted this photo, saying that now it's time for him to reach for the moon.
Yeah, it's a bit of a tragic story behind this, but it's still a beautiful image to have Moonbounce.
Yes.
Have you had similar images sent by people as sort of a memorial?
Yes, one time someone sent me a photo of her father, and so yeah, I guess it's a way. It's another poetic way for people to connect to the unknown, I guess. And so, but this is why it's so special for me to see what people want to send to the moon and back. It's usually something that is personal, it's close to their heart, or very close to what they do. In this case, artists, or so yeah, it's interesting.
So we'll close with this image. So can we see the Moonbounce results? That's it, already big screen, so yes. Nice edit. So any final words from Daniela?
Well, I reviewed the invite to have an exchange amongst all of us, whether online or here, and the auditorium. And I would like to thank all the speakers who are also my connections, personal connections. And yeah, it was beautiful to have you all in this panel and to share this journey to the moon and back today. Always a little bit adventurous, and thank you to Mario and Nando for making the journey possible. And so yes, that's what I wanted to say.
Excellent. Yes, then we can close the session. So thank you here in the audience. Organizing this day, it was a wonderful event. So thank you everybody, and well, we'll see you next time. We have lots of images to send again. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, and good night.
Thank you guys. Good night.
Thank you.
Nice.
Hey.